This week's Parsha is Parshas Va'Yeira. Parshas Va'Yeira begins with Hashem appearing to Avraham. The purpose of this appearance was simply to visit Avram. Avram was sick, he was in pain, he was recovering from his bris milah, which was a procedure that at his age required a fair amount of recovery. Because of that, Hashem visits him. And in fact, from here we learn the mitzvah, or we see the importance of the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim, of visiting the sick. Now, what's interesting is that the Medrash further states that Avraham, who usually would provide travelers who he would see on the road, he would see them pass by, he would invite them in for food, for some rest, because Avram, who was the paragon of kindness, always liked to do kindness for others, and wherever he could find a place to perform kindness, he would. In this instance, Hashem decided that since Avram was obviously ailing and it's hard for him to provide the needs for the guests, he took the sun out of its sheath, in the words of the Medrash, and it got very hot outside, and all the travelers decided to stop where they were, and because of that, there were no travelers passing by Avraham's tent. Now, instead of causing Avram relief, this actually caused him pain, because Avram constantly wanted to do kindness, and he had no way to perform any kindness on that day. With no passerbys, there was no one there who he could invite in for a meal and allow to rest. So, stopping there in the story, there's this very simple question. How do we view kindness? When we perform kindness, chesed for others, it's because there's a need for kindness, therefore we perform that kindness. There's a necessity for what we are giving, and therefore we give. But without that necessity, if there is no needs of others, is there any type of reason to perform kindness? Now, of course, this is entirely theoretical, but the point is that here we find Avraham having pain over not having the ability to perform kindness when there was no necessary receptacle for that kindness. There were no travelers. No one needed food. No one needed rest. So what pain, what was Avram unhappy about if no one had that necessity? So it's important for a person to realize the answer to this question, because the answer is that we perform kindness not because there are people who are needy. The reason why there are people who are needy is because we have to perform kindness. I'll repeat that. The reason why we have to perform kindness is not because there are needy people in the world. The reason why there are needy people in the world is in order for us to perform kindness. Kindness is an essential ingredient of a complete and perfect spiritual individual. We need to have that habit turn into characteristics of who we are. Let me explain. Let's say we view kindness as what we have to do in the case that there are needy people. You will have this question, and this question was asked by a Gentile person named Tunus Rufus of Rabbi Akiva. He asked Rabbi Akiva, he said that if Hashem wanted the needy to have their necessities provided, then why wouldn't he just do it himself? Why do we have this mitzvah called chesed, kindness, doing kindness to others? If Hashem wants their needs to be filled, then he should have the means to fill those needs. So if you think about it, that question means that he understood that the reason why we have a mitzvah to perform kindness to others, to provide for the needs of others, is because there are needy people in the world. So therefore he had the question, why doesn't Hashem provide the needs himself? But his reasoning was flawed at its very base. The reason why we perform kindness, the reason why there are needy people in the world is because we need to perform kindness. Otherwise there would be no needy people in the world. And that's the reason why Avram felt a pain. He felt a lack of something because he had a characteristic of kindness that was so ingrained in him. If he didn't have the ability to exercise that kindness, it pained him. It actually pained him. Just a quick question on this week's Parsha. If you think about it, the story that we just said seems to show two contradictory stories. Hashem visits Avraham because he's sick from the procedure. Now, the very next episode is that Hashem sends 3 angels who look like regular people, and one of the angels, his purpose, what he was supposed to accomplish as the angel, is to heal Avram. So now, why would Hashem visit Avram as Avram is sick, and he wants to provide for him comfort while he is sick, if he also decided that he's going to heal Avraham? Why, even if a person has an option, think about it for a second, if you had the ability not only to visit the sick, but to actually cure the sick, wouldn't it be better just to cure them instead of visiting them? Have a great Shabbos.